Oh, I haven't got Facebook up. Hello! How are your doings today? Just pulling up Facebook in case they're in the comments. As you can hear, I can breathe again. So that's really good. How are you doing? On Christmas Eve. No. New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve. Yeah, how are you getting on? It's like I don't cough, and then the moment I go live, suddenly I can't. It's laughing. That's what it is. It's because I laugh and then cough. So there we go. Good to see you. Did you like my little clip of me in a banana suit? Did you enjoy that? Because I was talking about, today we're talking about comparisonitis, or comparison cactus, as I call it. And I didn't have a picture of a cactus, but I did have a picture of me forgetting to take my noodles off the boil in a banana costume, which actually makes perfect sense. I know I end up in, even as I posted that, I thought, people are going to think, why are you in a banana costume? Like, why have you put that there? There's so many questions. Because I don't have a cactus costume, is the rational answer. And I actually really would like a cactus costume. So if anyone knows where I could get one that's inexpensive and got actual prickles, that would be really useful. Thank you. Please let me know. So how are you today? How are you doing, Emma? Emma's my sister, and unbeknownst to each other, we both developed this love of sewing. And just before lockdown, in February last year, we went to this stitch and sew show, knit, stitch and I don't know what it was. It was a show. We had so much fun. We learned how to put an arm in, a sleeve, and Emma's really careful and neat and like precise, and she can do anything like crafty. She can crochet, she can knit, she can sew, she can dye, she can embroider, she can do it all. And I'm not jealous at all. Not jealous at all. I am completely jealous. So we went and we learned some things. We bought some fabric and we made. It was so much fun. And then bam, lockdown came, which gave us time. So in that time, we've both learned to become. We both make dresses. We're both dressmakers. So I can like fit and alter clothes and make things that are designed to fit, like tailoring. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. So I said you'll be inundated with cactus costumes. I'm not sure everyone's got them lying around him. But yeah, wouldn't that be funny? I often think, because I often get, after I've done a talk, people say, oh my gosh, oh hi Rebecca, how are you doing? People will say, oh my gosh, you're making me cry, And I think, I really should try and get sponsored by Kleenex. And I have like sent them loads of messages and said, you should sponsor me. And it's just odd, they haven't got back into And I don't know what being sponsored by Kleenex would mean. Maybe it would mean I'd never be short of tissues. But anyway, yeah, cactus costumes. If I was a DJ on Radio 1, I'd have 8 already, because people would have sent them in, not because I just have them in my arsenal. Why am I explaining this? Comparison. Here's the deal about comparison. You're enough. And enough enough isn't a word that you say out of resignation. And enough isn't a word that you say like, it's enough. We often use enough in extremes. It's either it's enough, I can't take it anymore, or she's better than me. It's extremes. Where actually the word enough is a middle word. It's not overwhelmed or underwhelmed. It's whelmed. Enough. It's a liberating word. When you do it intentionally, when you use the word intentionally, rather than using it as in a kind of an extreme of too much or just not enough. Enough is actually a really beautiful word, especially when you put it in the context of yourself. Like, you're enough. So I had a thing about being a mum has been a momentous journey for me for so many reasons, but one of them is, I remember Ed used to come home. I had 2 kids 2 years apart, my first 2, and Ed would come home and the house would be like a complete heap. There'd be kids everywhere, stuff everywhere, like just mess everywhere, like paint. We'd started painting, then we'd left it. We'd had lunch, then we'd left it. I mean, it was like a bomb site. And he'd come in and I'd go, oh God, I'm a crap mum. And that was like my refrain. That was my theme to him. I'm a crap mum. Like the kids, that he's got chocolate sauce down him. I don't even know where this is. I can't remember the last time I went to the toilet, let alone them. And Ed, bless him, would say, look, I don't really get it, but based on evidence, right? Based on the evidence I can see, that's not true. because the kids are happy. They're laughing, they're playing, they've been fed, they've clearly had food because they've got it all over them. And you haven't wasted a moment of your time tidying up the mess. You've spent your entire time enjoying being with them. So how you being a crap mum and what I can see don't go together. And that was really interesting because what I could see was totally different to what he could see. What I could see is, oh, I failed and I failed and I failed. And it wasn't until years later, that was when my kids were toddlers and babies, once or years later when my friend said, I was criticising myself for working. Here's the thing. I never oh my God, I stay at home with my kids. Are you mad? Are you mad? I have choice? Are you mad? No, of course I don't want it. Why would I want to do that? I mean, I'm not a nurturing type of person. And I have felt guilty for years. Not now, but I felt guilty for years because I had no intention of going back, of staying off after I had Trin. No intention. We even talked about Ed taking time off when I had Jake rather than me. It's like, I don't see that this is my automatic role, and there's so much pressure, unspoken pressure, like, oh, you should be enjoying being at home with your baby. It's like, the baby sucks the lifeblood out of me. I'm leaking from every orifice. The baby is sucking the lifeblood out of me. Why would I had a job before. I was teaching. I achieved stuff in the day. Why would I, it just seemed a mad swap for me. It's not that I'm not maternal. Nurturing isn't my strong point. And also I just don't want that. I mean, I do it because I want the family and I want my babies and I love them. But it's not something that I would say, yes, that's the bit I enjoy. Of course not. For me, I know probably everyone else going, what? How can you say that? But yeah, for me. So I always felt guilty, and that guilt kind of led to I shouldn't be working. So I had this big thing that when I was working, I was guilty because I was not being a mum. I was not fetching I was not there every day to pick them up, drop them off. In fact, I was there most days actually. This is my story. I wasn't there. I was there. I did every sports day, Anyway, my kids would announce at 8:30 in the morning, oh, I need 24 fairy cakes. I'm like, off. Or I need a banana costume at 6:30. That's why I have that costume, just in case. It was, and I'd sort of make these cakes, or I'd try and buy cakes and ice them. And it's just like, oh God, and then the Sandra at the gates has got 48 perfect fairy cakes, just that she whipped up. And I'm like, oh God, I've still got egg yolk down me. And so all this was going on. And then I'll speak to a friend. And I said, I'm not a good enough mum. I'm not good enough as a mum. I'm just not getting it right. I feel like I fail all the time as a mum. And I felt like I failed in lots of ways, but the mum thing was especially good because I could beat myself up more. And she said, so what does the perfect mum look like? What is it that you're not doing? Let's get really clear. What's the perfect mum look like? And I'm like, well, they pick them up from school and drop them off. Every day they're there, waiting an hour early just in case. And, and they're always there. And whenever the kids need something, they're there and they get it ready and they do it for them. And she went, right, okay. But one of your values is independence, isn't it? So how do your kids learn to be independent and resilient if you're there all the time doing everything for them? And I'm like, And it was just this massive, oh my gosh. When I had Leo was 6 years after Jake. So when I had Leo, the midwife came round and she saw me fanning around. She went, and I just say, your 8-year-old can make herself a sandwich, right? Your 6-year-old is quite capable of getting a glass of squash. So you need to lower your expectations. I was like, oh my gosh, because you do get in a funk of I have to do everything. I have to be everything. But the story I was telling myself is that I had to do and be everything. And that's a lie. I was enough. It was enough. I am enough. It's so liberating because being there and wanting things to go well and noticing the things that I could do better was enough. And I'm not saying you don't do it, but this constant I'm not good enough was because all I ever did was compare myself to people who I decided and chose to see as being better than me. I maybe some people don't want their kids to be independent. You'd believe that. Some of the kids I had in my class who couldn't fasten their coat in year 4. But maybe some people have different values, and that's fine. Of course they do, and that's fine. These are my values. My values are independence, resilience, integrity. They're 3 of my strongest kind of closely held values. So that's what I want to create for my kids. And I think one of them was I had such a, hey Paula, how you doing? I had such a negative experience of parenting when I was a child that I was going to extremes to try and avoid that. I wanted to be the polar opposite of what my mum was to me in order to be okay. And as far away as I could get, it wasn't enough. I needed to get further. So what did that look like? But all this was kind of under the surface. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is this lack of belief that I was enough drove me to insanity. It certainly contributed towards postnatal depression, of course. I mean, certainly kind of kept me in a prison inside like this. My friend always talks about this, like, you know, a Victorian bird cage, but the bars are holographic. So they're holograms. So you're in the middle of it and you can see it, but you can just walk through it. But I can't. I chose to see the bars as real. And the narrative the whole time is I am not enough. So when my kids got older, I had an accountant. I run my own business, and I used to try and do everything at once. And the accountant came around and he's very stiff and he's in a suit. Lovely guy. We're friends now. He's retired, but he's very stiff in a suit. And I'm desperate to not look like some, you know, mom and pop shop thing. So he comes in and Jake's on the sofa behind me, and I've put something on the telly so he can watch it, and and he's talking about profit and loss and cash flow and balance. And I'm going, and he keeps sort of looking up like that and looking away and frowning and coming back, and I'm trying to focus, like, yeah. And then I turn around and Jacob had taken his pants off and just had his willy out, free willy as we call it, and he was doing the kind of like this behind me. And it was at that point when I decided, here's the deal. For my own sanity, I am going to either be a mum or be working. I am not going to try and do both at the same time because it makes me miserable. And that was really good, because then I have this thing where I used to have a sign like next to my computer, colours. So red was like, 5 minutes. And if they came and touched the red sign, I'm like, okay, you need me. So it's going to be, if you're dying or bleeding, rip the red sign off the screen. But if the red sign is up, just touch it. And I know, right, okay, and I'll finish what I'm doing and talk to you. And then there was another sign to say, look, I'm focusing now. And I just had all these things. It's like, I am doing this. And then when I am with you, I am 100% with you. And it didn't always work, but it made me feel like I was enough. And what I used to do is I used to follow lots of American mommy bloggers. I don't know how I got onto this. So I'd follow them on their blogs, and it was aspirational, I guess. But a lot of them that I followed were, or for some reason, they all had partners who were in the military. So they were all like heroes. And their partner was away a lot, so in the military, so they did everything. So they lived in a house by a lake, which they had built with their own hands, and it was huge, and it was wooden and painted, and it had a fence and a garden that was neatly manicured, and around the back there's an allotment where they grow their own vegetables, and they cook them and feed their own kids, and they make all their food from scratch, and their clothes, they have sheep and cows, and they weave the wool and strip the leather, and then they make them into cloth, and then they knit and stick and glue and make their kids' clothes, and they've got 8 kids, and they're all homeschooled, and there's no lockdown, they're doing it out of choice, and they're all homeschooled, and they look amazing, their hair's beautiful, coiffed, and their beautiful clothes that they've made themselves, and all their house is gorgeous, and I'm sat there with my dressing gown on while my 3 kids rip 3 pieces out of each other in the background over whose turn it is to play with the Polly Pockets, and I've got egg yolk down one side and milk down the other. I think I'm wearing the same pants that I had on yesterday because I slept in them, because I didn't get undressed last night because I fell asleep in my clothes, and I'm like sat there looking at these going and it just became like porn. It was addictive. I watched it to make myself feel worse. Like I would watch them so that I could satisfy this voice, this vulture, Taniqua, the vulnerability vulture that sat on my shoulder, digging her claws and going, you're not good enough. Look at this. They're doing it. You're not doing it. You're not good enough. Look at what they've got. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they are. And you're not that. You're not enough. And it was constant. And it was almost like a drug. It was almost like if I had that, I felt like I liked feeling bad. Like I knew how to feel bad more than I knew how to be enough. Crazy, isn't it? Let me have a look. My mum was, Taz says, my mum was working from home. I used to battle with her. She always said women needed to stay at home with their children so men could earn more money. She couldn't understand the irony that she worked at home and raised 3 children. Well, it's the thing. The stories are so, the story is so ingrained. Like, there was one time with my mum, she's my adopted mum. So we were at her house. I think we were staying there for a few days. We'd gone to visit. And I'd often go there with the kids because Ed was working and I worked for myself. So I would go to hers and she would play with the kids and I would do some work. Anyway, so she would say to me, oh, you know, emails again. Oh, on the laptop again. And I'd be like, yes, because I run a business. You know, and it's the daytime and I work there. And then I remember one time Ed came round. We were all there together and Ed said, oh, I've just got to do some emails. And it was like at night. So he went into the room. My mum, right, made him a sign and stuck it on the door. And the sign said, shh, Daddy is working. I was furious. I was like, hello, I was like, what I know about my mum, like I used to take the kids to my mum's house, and she used to live in this house with like gooseberry bushes and strawberries and plum trees and stuff. And I'd take the kids and they'd go for the day, and she'd say, right, Trinity, would you like to come and help me do some baking in the garden? Jacob, you can help Papa chop firewood. Now Trinity is like strong and muscly, and Jake's 2 years younger and has no coordination at this stage. I'm like, that's insane. And Trinity went, Nanny, I can chop firewood. I'm like, go on, girl. And Nanny went, yes, maybe later. And I used to say to Ed, oh, it's so traditional. It's like, yeah, and do you know what, Jazz? Isn't that a good thing? Because they're not going to get that from anywhere else, are they? They're not going to get that from you. So isn't that great that they have this experience, which they can choose to go along with or choose not to? And I relaxed a bit about it, because it was just very kind of like, I was just very on edge about being right all the time. Like, the thing is, I want change more than I want to be right, but I want to be right a lot, but I want change more. So comparison is a killer. And here's the most important thing. What we do is we go on social media and we compare everyone else's front stage with our backstage, because it is front stage. Nobody puts their crap on Twitter, do they? Nobody sits on Twitter crying, going, my life's a mess, and I'm an alcoholic, and I think I might have got involved in some human trafficking on the way to Co-op this morning by accident. No one does that. I mean, if they do, I don't see it. No, but what we tend to do is put our first date face on. We tend to, put our best face on. It's like I'm looking on my feed now, and there's lots of people putting pictures of them at Christmas. They're not meaning to show off and go, look at our Christmas. We've had a great Christmas. Look at all the presents we bought our kids. Look, we got PlayStation 5 and a computer and something else. And we got, a holiday in the Bahamas. Oh, you can't do that, can we? And we did this, and we all went out for dinner, and we all had this fake snow, and we all had this. They're not showing off. They're not trying to go, oh, we're better than you. Because doing that, everybody feels we're not good enough. What they're trying to do is say, I had a good time. I celebrated. And there's been times when it hasn't been good. And I actually had a good time. Celebrate with me. But what we choose to do is we choose to look at it and go, oh, I didn't get that. I didn't celebrate. I didn't have that experience. I'm not good enough. Stop it. Stop comparing yourself to others. It is killing you. It is limiting and stifling your ability to grow. It's making you be the human, the human, the woman, the human that the world says you have to be, not the phenomenal, brilliant, imperfect, broken, ridiculous, hilarious human that you were destined to be, that you have the capacity to be. I'm sorry, my hands are cold. That you were created to be. Comparison is a killer. It's killing you. And we're going into 2021, right? And there's enough against you. There's enough to navigate. There's enough adversity to overcome without you telling yourself you are not good enough on top of all that. Because it makes you settle. It makes you settle in a relationship where your partner, who is supposed to lift you up, is bringing you down, is abusing you with words or with actions. It makes you settle to be spoken to by your own kids in a way that you wouldn't want them to speak to anyone else. It makes you settle for the fact that you're not happy. But it's okay, because you don't deserve happiness. Happiness isn't for you. Happiness is something for other people. That's what comparisons lead to. And it's an addiction. It is an addiction, because it kind of makes you feel good not to feel good. Listen, maybe this is just me, right? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only person on the planet who has felt like this. And if so, so be it. But, oh, sorry. I'm sorry about all the coughing. But I share this with you, and I talk with you about this because these talks aren't, they aren't my work. I suddenly thought, oh my gosh, I've been doing Natter with Jazz. What if someone who doesn't know me comes on and thinks, oh, that's what her keynotes are like, her digital keynotes. We're not going to book one of them. This is a Natter. This is me. And I suddenly felt a bit, oh no, I should have been doing something really slick and being really great and and actually, do you know what? I'm doing it again, comparing my front stage with everyone else's backstage. It's like, no, this is me, right? And I want to be Marmite. You either love me or you hate me. And if you hate me, if you hate these rambling talks, and you hate the way I do my hair, and you hate the sound of my voice, good. That's good. Go away, because why would I want to work with you if you hate me? I don't want to hang out with you. We'll both be miserable, because this is all the time. This is 24/7, sister. You will not, if you can't do this for fact, you are not going to want this. So go, walk out the door, because I want to work with people who are like going, yes, I want this too. Yes, I feel like that too. Yes, I want to do that too. So I'm not. So I remind myself, Jazz, you're enough. You are enough. And I have to remind myself this every day, several times a day, because it's so hard. It's not my natural way of being. It's not my nurtured way of being. It's the way I choose to be. You have nature, nurture, and now. And now is what I choose. That's what I have control over. So there we go. Else bells. Comparing others' front stage and my backstage. Guilty. I know. Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? It's like our backstage is the stuff that we want to keep hidden because we're not good enough. So we don't want anyone to know about. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do, like, I was going to say 100, but I can't think of 100. 37 things that I don't want you to know about me. I'm going to do a list of things that I don't want people to know about me, because I feel like I'm not enough. And if you knew it, then it's not odd. If you knew it, then what? You wouldn't like me? I'm not really bothered about that. What is it? If you knew these things, you'd lose respect for me, maybe. But why is that? Why would that bother me? I know who I am. Why does it bother me whether other people respect me or not? Why don't I want you to know them? Because they're embarrassing? Maybe. I don't get embarrassed very often. And then I get embarrassed about silly things. I don't get embarrassed about big things. Anyway, I'm sure there is stuff. And I am going to, collate a failure CV. Anyway, can't speak too loud because it makes me cough. Anyway. Thank you for joining me. Taz, John, Hells Bells. Chris, hello, how are you doing? I'm having a fantastic Christmas. I am. I'm having a really good time because I'm not doing any work. It's fabulous. Rebecca as well. Paula, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming along. And I hope that some of this has been helpful. And if it hasn't, don't listen to it anymore. You choose. Right, I'm going to go and have a hot toddy. It seems, just to give you an update on the cold, it seems that my nose is clear and I can hear, and I can actually talk and my throat doesn't feel sore. But if I talk too much, then my nose starts to get, like can you hear it? I can hear it. And I start coughing. So, yeah. The cure is to be a bit more quiet, which means I will have this cold forever. Anyway. Happy Christmas. Happy bit between Christmas and New Year. Happy New Year's Eve. And if your name is Eve. Have a great day. I'll see you at 11 or just gone tomorrow.